Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about the school where I would like to send my children, the ideal school. They will be taught how to deal with the major problems that challenge our century. And at the moment, where you have to change school to match up the changes we're going through, why develop this new school? This new school is called a Sense Campus. And it comes out of my own background. Let me give you an example. I think one has to develop a campus where you can learn by being committed, because that encourages joy and motivation. When I was at school, a professor suggested that I collected money to help people have food to eat, and which is called Restaurant du Cœur in France. And with a friend, we decided we'd do this. So we allowed a friend's father to let us go into his supermarket, and actually one by one we actually managed to encourage the clients in the supermarket to give us just a packet of rice or pasta, and in the end we managed to have a whole lorry full of food in order to be able to give this charitable organization. For me personally, I thought it was great, and then I learned lots of things. I'd been useful. I'd first of all learned to actually do something from A to Z, which is called project management. I was motivated and helped motivate my friends, which is called team management, and then I found solutions to problems, and that's creativity. That's great, because so this is what businesses are looking for today. And then I learned about something else, which is a little bit more difficult to describe. I had a sensation of feeling very powerful. I felt powerful as opposed to not powerful. When you think about hunger in the world, or people who are refugees or don't have any education, and I never lost this feeling, and it actually influenced everything that I did thereafter. I then went. I had a business background, and I did humanitarian studies, and I went to Burkina Faso and worked in prisons, and I went to Colombia and worked in the health sector, and I became very involved with microfinance for Planet Finance, and I just learned about social financing with Make Sense, and I've never lost this feeling since. I then decided I would create my own school because of the way I felt. And our mission is to have 1,000 students every year who are managers, researchers, philosophers, psychologists, and in order to become social entrepreneurs in terms of education, preservation of the environment, fight against poverty. And they develop their own skills in marketing or in management, in design, and in finance. In fact, they're using their intelligence in order to apply them to these projects, and they apply the knowledge that they've developed in a classical manner. And therefore, why am I telling you this? I'll just get out my notes. That's it, I remember. Now, another important thing is that in these programs, students are learning technical ways of imparting knowledge. Think about your first jobs and the difference between what was taught and what you really did have to do. For me, for example, when I came to Planet Finance, I was told to do a beautiful presentation on PowerPoint and a business plan. And in the end, I managed to do it. But it was much more difficult to get the feedback of my managers, to get my messages across to my colleagues. This is much more difficult because you're not using the same resources as those that you need in order to capture knowledge, and it takes a lot longer. However, I'm persuaded today that that is what the education should be conveying tomorrow. And it's thanks to that that our studies can resolve much more complex problems, like how can sport prevent people, can keep people in better health amongst older people. They can also become more committed by creating their own lessons. And how can we help people with their energy bills for those people who don't earn very much money? In fact, these students have resolved some of these problems, and we've learnt a lesson. Why is this working? Why does this form of teaching work? It's because the students, just as the teachers, are much more motivated in the three elements. When there is a sense, an idea of action and enthusiasm. So we found a recipe. And what gives us confidence in this model is it's not only the students and the pupils that we're training and that we're accompanying, it's also the teachers like these that we trained, for example, in Grenoble last week. And therefore, I just need to look at my notes again. Very interesting. Doing a presentation. I'm learning whilst I'm doing it. So, now how can we go further with this? How can we apply this recipe in order to have more impact over and above what we've already had? If we want to resolve the problems over a long term, we need the students become social entrepreneurs, but we also need them to become managers in companies so that they become directors in departments for public institutions and major international organizations, because when all these players are together, then we'll have an impact on the problems. And this is where our students need to move into all these different types of careers. We've seen this within a program that we created, which was called Food Wastage. It's called What the Food. So there were six students, all different disciplines, philosophers even. So the startup we'd already had a startup which was involved in reducing wastage in supermarkets, and there were a whole series of people from collective restaurants, and they created a tool. They decided they wanted to reduce the wastage during the meal times. So it wouldn't have been possible unless we'd managed to get all these different people together to such an extent. So that students aren't talking to their parents, they're talking to the Minister of Education, in fact. So sense, action, and enthusiasm. Those are the three key words in all of this. If tomorrow, let me look at my notes again. Okay, you can look at your smartphones while I'm looking for the right page. So what happens on our campus? On our campus, students think about a cause that they're extremely involved in, and it's teachers and people who help to work with them on these projects. And it can be directors of agencies and companies and social institutions. And it's not only because they've got things to teach them, it's because the students challenge these people in order to try and take them further. Because this generation has incredible potentials, especially with these new technologies, that our elders didn't even know about, couldn't even have imagined. 10 years ago, when we were talking about replanting trees in the Amazonian rainforest, who would have known that you could have had a drone that could plant several seeds at the same time, at thousands and thousands and thousands of seeds? And we have actually developed this technology. So it's not too late to address some of these what appear to be insurmountable problems. Quite the contrary. Imagine tomorrow's world if all the students could identify and have concrete action for a problem which they really want to act upon, imagine that the problem was actually existed several thousands of miles away from them, but they were able to train themselves with the people who were involved in this area. Something that concerns me is education of women. I'm convinced it is one of the keys for development in many countries. Whilst with Sense Campus, I can have a concrete effect on public institutions in this domain. For example, with UNESCO, I can create a communication campaign, or with associations, I can continue in India with Barefoot College, which trains women to become engineers. And when I've done that I can understand the complexity of and what all these people have to actually go through on a daily basis, because I will then have learnt everything I need to for whatever's needed in order to go and work for an institution like United Nations, for example. So this is no longer a dream. This has become a reality as of today. And I'm very proud to be able to tell you that we've just opened the first Sense campus in Dakar with African management and a partner 10 days ago. There's one question, however, needs to be answered. And if my children in the future were to leave Europe and to go to Dakar, it's okay. I'm not at that stage just yet. But what about your children? Your enrollment is open for your children. Thank you very much. So we've got a minute to spare. You can tear your papers up now. Now, can you just tell us what's written on your T-shirt? Oh yes, on my T-shirt it says "Vote for Sense" with "Make Sense." We've been selected amongst the finalists for Google Impact Challenge. So, if you vote for us, we can develop our impact and resolve more social problems. So, this will help us win a prize. So you can click on bit.ly/4sense. So, if we could have all your votes, we'll probably win the prize. And before I do leave, I just want to take a photo because I want to send it to my father. Can you all put your hands up, lift your hands up and forming a Y with your fingers, and I'm going to take a photo. And please say Y. Thank you very much.